Hey everybody, it's me, Bodroop. So, welcome to the first episode of Wynncraft item review in which I don't review a mythic. Today I'm covering Blossom Haze. It is a new dagger, it's a new fabled dagger that was added in 1.20, and it is probably one of the coolest designed daggers in the game in my opinion. It's got a really gimmicky major ID which I like, and it's also quite a challenge. So yeah, that's about it. Why not start? So if you may not know, Blossom Haze is the new Fabled dagger for Assassin. It's an Earth-based dagger, and it's got sort of like Earth-based IDs. It's got some negative tier, some mana steal, exploding, as well as Earth damage, and -1 for spell cost. The biggest downside of it is the negative walk speed, which is actually quite the hindrance in my opinion, as well as in some other people's opinions who have used the weapon quite more than I have. It's also level 87, meaning that its damage baseline is quite below the normal that an endgame weapon would have. So even though you may want to use this weapon in endgame, which you definitely should try by the way, it may not have the highest base damage at all. In fact, it only hits about like 5.5k spin attacks. Now that, paired with the fact that it's only got 2 powder slots, may make you think that it's a pretty weak weapon, especially for endgame. But you haven't heard the best part yet. It's got a major ID, and it's a very, very unique one. It makes it so that your smoke bomb explodes instantly on contact, dealing 110% damage each. And remember, that's each. So if you get 3 smoke bombs hitting on the target, that's 330% damage. For contrast, spin attacks, spell multiplier is only 150%, so this is more than double spin attack's power. And considering how instant it is, basically replaces spin attack, but I'll get more to that in the gameplay section of the video. So yeah, basically, powerful dagger, good major ID, but low base damage. As most of you probably already guessed, the weapon's major ID definitely plays a massive part in the gameplay of the weapon. Blossom Haze's gameplay and playstyle is miles different than any other assassin weapon, and that's why, for example, in the footage, I kind of actually probably didn't play the best. It's a whole new world in my opinion, the playstyle. It just feels so different. Generally, the strategy is to actually just spam the smoke bomb, spam the 330% spell, because it's so instant. It's like spin spamming all the way in 1.18. So yeah, the gameplay feels very different than normal. The gameplay feels really pretty intuitive. Well, I don't know if that's the correct word, but it feels fun nonetheless. But it's quite challenging. The weapon has a high skill cap in my opinion. No, not everyone can immediately pick it up. Even I couldn't just start using it instantly. It felt really weird at first because it's just such a different like playstyle, that's all. Instead, with a normal assassin weapon, you know, cycle different spells, make sure your spell costs don't go too high. With this one, you're totally fine just cycling 3 smoke bombs in a row and then just going back to vanish. That's fine. And it actually felt so weird. My muscle memory couldn't make me cycle 3 spells in a row because I'm so used to the fact that, oh fuck, that's bad because, you know, spell costs go up. So I just ended up doing 2 smoke bombs and then vanish. But you know, the most optimum would be 3-4 smoke bombs in a row and then vanishing. Right? So it's been established that the gameplay of the weapon is basically a whole new world for assassin players. But how's the builds for the weapon look? Well, I mean, time to go on to the next section. Okay, so I've gone over the fact that Blossom Haze is a really wacky, gimmicky, and pretty fun weapon, as well as a pretty powerful weapon to use. But what sort of build should it actually be used in? Well, Blossom Haze definitely shines the most in Earth, Water, Air, just because it has access to Renda Langit, which of course in 1.19 was one of the most useless accessories ever, but in 1.20 has some use because, as I said, you end up kind of spamming 3, maybe even 4 smoke bombs in a row, so having that negative smoke bomb cost as well as the negative vanish cost really actually helps. Since Blossom Haze doesn't really do much damage as base damage, if you really want to pump up those numbers a little, you could use Earth, Thunder, Water. It definitely has potential in that archetype. Because of how the smoke bomb works, you can actually probably get more DPS than any other Earth, Thunder, Water non-mythic build. But as said, Blossom Haze is inherently a high skill cap item, so adding Earth, Thunder, Water onto that doesn't make it any easier. To conclude, Blossom Haze, even though at first it looks kind of weak, and that's actually kind of the opinion I had going into this review, turns out to be really strong if used in the right hands, although it does have a high skill cap. Its major ID is a really fun addition to the game, and if it was, say, on an accessory or on a piece of armor, it would definitely be really fun, although considering how Blossom Haze is pretty decent, even though it's low base damage, on other weapons it could honestly be pretty OP, like Nighthawk level OP. Overall, fun weapon, good weapon, has some use in niche archetypes. I don't see Earth, Water, Air, or Earth, Thunder, Water too often. And overall, cool weapon. That's about it. Well, thanks for watching. For this review, I'd especially like to hear people's opinions on Blossom Haze because it's a new thing and also quite a divisive one especially. I discussed this a little in the Atlas Inc. Discord, and people had some very differing opinions on this. So yeah, leave comments, and if you like this, leave a like, subscribe perhaps, possibly, maybe even. And yeah, next up probably is going to be Divs, or a lot of people have been asking for it, so stay tuned for that. After that, I don't know what I'm going to review, so recommend me some stuff I should. Yeah, thanks for watching, see ya!